Hello, everybody. Hello, YouTube. Hello, art history enthusiasts and visual culture aficionados. It's me again, Miss M. And I'm back with yet another video. Today, what are we going to do today? Today, we're going to talk about some stuff. We're going to talk about some stuff. We're going to continue. Yes, I'm going to continue talking about the stuff that I said I would talk about in my future videos regarding the Shining and the Manhattan Project and the characters involved in all of that. And something that I mentioned in my latest coffee break viewer mail edition, based on, well, yeah, I guess one of the things that Richland Law has talked about in one of his comments about the photo at the end of the movie, the July 4th, 1921 photo. And if you listen to this video, and I read Richland Law's comment, he talks about like those old photos of the scientists, and it's, I guess it's like, they're very reminiscent of a class photo, but like an old-timey one, and all of the people in the photo look very stern and very serious. We're going to talk about that. And I said I was working on something, and I was, and I'm going to just present to you in this video the products of what I've been working on, what I've been turning over in my head, reading, researching, whatever. So the photo in question is this one. That's the colorized version. This is the black and white version. And yes, everything you see in this video I'm going to leave in the description, so you can go look at it for yourself. This is the Stanley Kubrick's The Shining Overlook Hotel Ballroom photo colorization. I really like this. I really like that they, this person took the time to colorize it. Okay, it kind of makes it interesting. It makes it a little more interesting. Look at me zooming in on the colorized version. Yeah, what's going on with this photo though? This is the mystery, the biggest mystery of The Shining. Well, no, not the biggest mystery. It's one of the big ones. Like, if the first time you watch this movie and you see this at the end of the movie, and it zooms in very slowly. You start in the lobby, and then you work your way past all the furniture that's covered in sheets, and then you finally end up with this photo, and they zoom in on the photo, and you see the whole thing, and then you see Jack, and then you see what's written underneath Jack: Overlook Hotel, July 4th, Ball, 1921. And I have something that I believe it might be the answer to why Stanley chose this date. Okay, and you already know how I feel about Jack. I think that, again, I'll restate this. I have no trouble restating this. I want everybody to know. I believe that The Shining is really talking about the Manhattan Project and all of the main characters involved. One of the most important of those main characters is J. Robert Oppenheimer. They recently did a movie about him. I didn't see the movie, and I'm probably not gonna. Okay. No shade to the people who were in the movie. I'm sure they're all very good actors and the whole thing. But, I'm not really interested in knowing more or learning more about Oppenheimer's life, or the romanticized version. No, I want the real stuff, the facts, the nitty-gritty. That's what I'm interested in, especially regarding the Manhattan Project. And I think Jack is a representation in The Shining of J. Robert Oppenheimer. Okay, and that's who this is in this photo. I've mentioned in previous videos. You can go ahead and look for them. Watch all my videos. They're all very, very good. But I've mentioned in a previous video that in the summer of 1921, specifically July, probably right on that date, July 4th, 1921, where was J. Robert Oppenheimer? He was in the right now it's called the Czech Republic, and I don't know, it wasn't Czechoslovakia at the time, I don't think, but I would have to check. But he was in that part of the world. His father was on a business trip. What kind of business, I don't know. But Oppenheimer had just graduated from high school. And he graduated young, I guess a year early. He was like 17 or whatever. And the father went on a business trip to the Czech Republic, and they went to a place that is very well known in that part of the world for mining. And not just mining, but it's very well known as a source of like uranium and other radioactive materials, those kinds of mines. And I think that the name of the place, if I remember correctly in my video, is Joachimsthal. And I think that's the German name for it, but like the Czech name for it is Yakimov or Yakimovi, something like that. And it's very well known for being rich in minerals. And J. Robert Oppenheimer, as a youngster, he was very into mining, mineralogy. Okay, so I guess that was a whole bunch of fun for him when he was 17, his high school graduation, and then he got to go to this part of the world that was very well known for mining and whatever. Okay, cool. That's where he probably was on July 4th, 1921. Okay. That still doesn't explain this picture. I mean, it might, but not really. Okay. So, like, what and how could explain this picture? This article here, okay, in The Wrap. This is the article is titled "The Shining Final Shots Creepy Overlook Hotel July 4th Ball 1921 Photo Turns 100." Okay, and it's the title, the part under the title says, "This holiday is an especially important one for Stephen King fan." Oh God, they always got to bring him into it, even though he hated the movie. Oh my God. Anyway, let me read a little bit of this to you. The first sentence of this article says, "For hardcore fans of The Shining, this 4th of July marks an important anniversary in the history of the infamous Overlook Hotel, and it all comes down to a photo. If you've seen Stanley Kubrick's iconic 1980 adaptation of the Stephen King novel," yeah, well, I don't think it was an adaptation of the novel, but that's just my opinion, "then you know about the photograph shown at the very end of the film after Jack Torrance, played full throttle by Jack Nicholson, suffers a chilly demise. The photograph shows Jack at the front of a grand 4th of July ball at the Overlook Hotel, and if the inscription on the photo is correct, then today it is the 100th anniversary of that mysterious party." Okay. Over the past 4 decades, the photo has captured the imagination of horror fans and spawned theories about what the photo could mean. One popular theory is that the photo shows the picture of all the victims that the curse of the Overlook Hotel has claimed over the years. But Kubrick himself, now this is the important part here, that's why I'm here for this interview, or not interview, for this article. But Kubrick himself revealed his own intentions behind the photo, saying in an interview with French film critic Michael Ciment at the time of the film's release that the photo suggests the reincarnation of Jack. I'm glad they put it in quotes, and they're not adding to anything that Stanley said. So according to Kubrick, Jack Torrance is the reincarnation of a guest at the Overlook Hotel from decades ago. Now, see, this part I don't like. This is some bullshit. According to Kubrick, did Kubrick say? I listened to that interview too, where he's talking on the phone with the dude, and I showed you all that. I linked it for you. That's not what he says at all. As far as if I again, I keep questioning my sanity. If I haven't completely lost my mind, that's not what he says. So it's like this paragraph here. So according to Kubrick, Jack Torrance is the reincarnation of a guest at the Overlook Hotel from decades ago, as was Charles Grady, the previous caretaker, whom Jack learned had become bloodthirsty while watching the hotel the previous summer. Oh, see, you got a bunch of stuff wrong here. Oh, not the previous summer, you dum-dum. The Grady character was the caretaker about a decade before Jack. Okay, not the previous summer. Ooh, did they even watch the movie? See, this kind of thing just boils my broccoli. No. No. But they do mention, and I'm not going to read much more of this because, well, there's not much more, but, and they say that, okay, thank goodness, the part in quotes, so they said that Kubrick said, in an interview with French film critic Michael Ciment, at the time of the film's release, that the photo suggests the reincarnation of Jack. Now, I don't even know whether or not Stanley Kubrick knew that his phone call was being recorded. So if he didn't know, that's not cool. But that's what he said. It suggests the reincarnation. This next part about, So according to Kubrick, Jack is the reincarnation of a guest. No, he didn't say a guest. He said an evil kind of reincarnation. That's what Kubrick said. He didn't get specific about who he's a reincarnation of. That really pissed me off. I don't know why. I guess because I'm so invested in this. Because, no, it's not, according to Kubrick, that Jack Torrance is the reincarnation of a guest at the Overlook. No. But he did say it suggests an evil kind of reincarnation. Did they even lift this quote directly from the interview? I don't know. But anyway, so something about the evil reincarnation, a kind or a sort of evil reincarnation. That is what Stanley said in that interview when he's talking to the Japanese person about, when he asks him, like, what's the meaning of the movie, and he talks about this image, and he does say that this suggests an evil kind of reincarnation. Because if this photo features Jack looking like Jack, it doesn't the 1921 4th of July ball photo does not feature Jack looking like somebody else. This is Jack. This is Jack with his hair slicked back in a tuxedo at a big party. That doesn't look like a 4th of July party at all. I see no patriotic, paraphernalia. I don't see any American flags. I don't see any, stuff that you would associate with, like, a 4th of July party. Where is it? I don't see it. It looks more like a New Year's Eve party. But never mind that. See, I see that they've got this thing. This guy's blowing on this thing. To me, that always screams New Year's Eve. But that's just me. Okay. I don't know. I really don't know what to think. Well, I kind of have an idea because I've been working on it. So I told you, 4th of July, 1921, Oppenheimer was in the Czech Republic, indulging his interest in mineralogy. Okay, cool. So that brings me to this. Albert Einstein. Yes, that's why we're here today. Oh, by the way, before I get into it, I forgot to do my church announcements. You guys, it's time to fire up the percolator. All right, and returning viewers, thank you for returning. New viewers, thank you for being new. Subscribers, thank you for subscribing. I appreciate all of you very much. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share the video if you know somebody who might enjoy this kind of thing. And that's that. So let's get into it. Finally, I forgot. Yeah, go get your coffee. Oh my goodness, go get your coffee and your treats and whatever. I've already been talking for about 14 minutes and I forgot my church announcements. God. Okay. So now you know what I'm going to talk about. This picture. All right. Okay. in a room that looks nothing like the gold room in The Shining. Absolutely nothing. Nothing at all like the gold room. Um, no, no, and it's not making a whole bunch of sense. It's just not making a whole bunch of sense. Um, like, what is going on here? What is going on here? What is, are they really celebrating the 4th of July, or is it New Year's or whatever? And there's this woman here in the background who looks an awful lot like Wendy. So, see where I'm circling? See her? She looks a lot like Wendy. Can I zoom in? Kind of. Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know. But her over here. Is that Shelley Duvall or is it somebody else? I don't know. You guys tell me. But this is definitely Jack. His head, anyway. And he's got this little piece of paper, right? So it's not just that this is a photo from 1921, alleged, in the world of the movie. This is supposed to be a photo from 1921 in the Overlook Hotel, presumably in the ballroom, the gold room, on the 4th of July. No, it's the way his body is posed, which, ever so many people have compared to the Baphomet. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't. I just don't. And he's got his right hand up, it's bent at the elbow. And this guy's trying to, this guy behind him with the mustache and the glasses is trying to hold Jack's arm back. Why? I don't know, but I have my suspicions. Looks like he's wearing a watch. Okay, look at that. And in his hand, there's a teensy-weensy little scrap of paper. Okay, about the size of the piece of paper inside of a fortune cookie. That's what I compare it to. The little fortune cookie fortune that when you're done with the Chinese food and it's time to open up the fortune cookies. That's the size of the piece of paper. At least it looks like that to me in Jack's right hand. And again, this man, who's very hard to identify, and look at these shady ass people. Look at this guy too, with the long nose and the mustache. He looks. What he? Ooh, he. That man is suspicious. But this one here, he's smiling, but he's holding Jack's arm back, and which leads me to believe that the little piece of fortune cookie paper is some kind of message. It contains some kind of message that Jack wants to deliver to whoever's, I guess, looking at this photograph. Us, the viewer, the audience of the movie. And the man is saying, no, don't tell them. Don't hand them that little piece of fortune cookie paper. And what is the message? What is the message that Jack, and this photo suggests, as Stanley said, some kind of evil reincarnation. And one of my commenters talked about that recently. I need to revisit that comment and take a look at it, but I'm going to have to do it after I'm done with this video. It suggests some kind of evil reincarnation. So whoever this is in the photo from 1921 that looks like Jack isn't really Jack. It's his, I'm not going to, no, not predecessor. But some people have said, oh, that's Jack's father or grandfather or something like. No, I don't think that either. No. This is somebody who was playing the same role as Jack is playing in the world of the movie, the modern day world of the movie. This person that looks exactly like Jack, but in a tuxedo, in 1921, was playing the same role that Jack is playing in the world of the modern day world of the movie. Okay, and that person in 1921 who was playing the same role, because Stanley said a sort of reincarnation. He didn't say like properly, like the real deal reincarnation. No, he said a sort of evil reincarnation. Okay, so the Jack that we see in the movie, throughout the movie, is a reincarnation of whoever this represents. Are you following me? Am I making it too confusing? The Jack that we see in the modern day world of the movie, the one who goes to the interview and gets the job as the caretaker, and that brings his family, Wendy and Danny, with him, that Jack is the reincarnation of whoever this is in the 1921 photo that is represented by somebody who has the exact same appearance as Jack, but isn't Jack, because reincarnation doesn't work that way. You don't reincarnate into the same person over and over again. No. And I think Stanley would have been aware of that. Okay, but this 1921 version of Jack has a message that somebody is trying to stop him from delivering. And he's like, and just like I was talking about with regard to Richland Law's comment in the coffee break viewer mail video. Like, yeah, look, he's front and center in this photo. He's not just a caretaker. I mean, maybe that's his official title, but there's something else going on. Maybe he's not like, maybe he's not necessarily more than a caretaker, or playing or fulfilling a more important role than caretaker, but he's at the front. Okay, let me zoom out. Look at this. He's at the front. Look at this. Of all these people. All these people are behind him. He's the one. Front and center of this photo. And all of these people behind him are who he's representing, or who he's working for, or who maybe represent the entity or the organization that he's really working for, at least in 1921. Probably in the modern day too. If Jack represents in the modern day, he represents who? Do I keep saying over and over again? J. Robert Oppenheimer. The one that we see in the movie, doing all his crazy stuff in the movie, that Jack represents J. Robert Oppenheimer. Who does this Jack represent? Does this Jack also represent J. Robert Oppenheimer? No. In my opinion, no. He represents somebody else who played a very similar role to J. Robert Oppenheimer, but back in the day in 1921. J. Robert Oppenheimer was the media darling. You know, from the Manhattan Project onward. He's still celebrated. They just made a movie about him as this kind of tragic, heroic figure. I would never give him that status. He knew exactly what he was doing with regard to creating this terrible weapon. Okay, he even in that ridiculous interview where he looks like he's about to cry, he even calls himself the destroyer of worlds, and he doesn't expect the audience listening to him to have any kind of contempt for him when he says something like that. That is just an absolutely ridiculous thing to say, comparing yourself to a mythical story or a mythical figure that literally destroys worlds. And to think that he's actually sad about that? Dude, you knew what you were doing the whole time. Don't come on TV, climb up on the TV and start crying now. No. You knew what you were up to. Stop it. Just stop it. Now, again, the Jack that we see in the movie represents Oppenheimer. This Jack, who does this Jack represent? Well, I just kind of, showed you. Albert Einstein. Let's get into it. He represents Albert Einstein. That is my hypothesis. Okay. 1921 Jack is not Oppenheimer. He's Albert Einstein. Now, I'm going to leave this for you. This is Einstein's Wikipedia page. It is long. Look at this. I'm just scrolling to give you an idea of how much stuff there is to look at. Look at all the notes and all this stuff. My God. You might as well read War and Peace, for the love of Pete. But look at this. This is Albert Einstein. Born 14th of March, 1879. Died 18th of April, 1955. So about a decade after the end of the Second World War, Einstein died. He was 76 when he died, so he would have been about 66 at the end of the Second World War. By that time, he had gotten the hell out of Europe. He was living in the United States. He was a German-born theoretical physicist, German-born, who is widely held to be one of the greatest and most influential scientists of all time. I wish I knew why. Unfortunately, I'm not good at processing that kind of information. But we just got to take their word for it now, don't we? Best known for developing the theory of relativity. Some people say it wasn't him, it was other people, and that Einstein plagiarized, but that's not what I'm talking about today. Einstein also made important contributions to quantum mechanics and was thus a central figure in the revolutionary reshaping of the scientific understanding of the nature that modern physics accomplished in the first decades of the 20th century. Phew. Okay, so he did a lot, huh? His mass energy equivalence formula E equals mc squared, which arises from relativity theory, has been called the world's most famous equation. This is kind of why I'm here. He received the 1921 Nobel Prize in Physics for his services to theoretical physics, and especially for his discovery of the law of photoelectric effect, a pivotal step in the development of quantum theory. His work is also known for its influence on the philosophy of science. In a 1999 poll of 130 leading physicists worldwide by the British journal Physics World, Einstein was ranked the greatest physicist of all time. Okay. His intellectual achievements and originality have made the word Einstein broadly synonymous with genius. I still don't know why. Again, I'm not good at processing that kind of information, but whatevs. I've read through this. Not all of it, but a lot. The stuff of the sciencey stuff is hard for me to follow, but his biography as a person, not just like his work, I just don't like him. Okay? I just do not like him. He seems like he wasn't a very nice person in his personal life. He treated his family like crap. Absolute, complete, utter, and total crap. Just not a nice guy. You can read through this on your own time. You don't have to agree with me. That's my opinion based on me going through this page and other stuff, other articles. I don't like him. Period. That's me. But, talks about his scientific career, and where, and his mirabilis papers, relativity, general relativity, all this stuff. 1917, wormholes. Okay, Einstein-Cartan theory, equations of motion, old quantum theory. 1907, 1924. Jesus Christ. Now, just like it says up here in the first paragraph that I read to you, he got the Nobel Prize. He didn't get the Nobel Prize in 1921. He was awarded the Nobel Prize for 1921 in 1922. He was awarded that, I guess, retroactively. Okay? I don't know why. I'm not clear on why. But he got the Nobel Prize for the year 1921, but he was awarded that prize in 1922. And apparently at the time, okay, here's a little bit of tea for you. The Nobel Prize isn't just like you get a medal or a plaque or a trophy. No, you get a whole bunch of money. Like crazy amounts of money. And his first wife, Milena, is it Milena or Mileva? Hold on now. Yeah, Mileva. Maric. They got a divorce because he was treating her like crap. And in the divorce settlement, like, she got the Nobel Prize money. It was that much of it. She was very wealthy. He was very wealthy. He didn't have to worry about work or money for the rest of his life. Not just because of the Nobel Prize thing, but he was okay. He was taken care of financially. Okay. But what's going on with him? Now, July 4th, 1921. What important thing happened with regard to Einstein in 1921, other than he got the 1921 Nobel Prize retroactively in 1922? This is an essay called, from a page called Five with the, oh Lord, Five with Thurl Timpson. Okay. I guess that's the author, Thurl Timpson, of this blog, Einstein's View of America a Century Ago. And this was written in July of this year. But it says, hello, 5 o'clockers. Here we are at the end of the 4th of July week. In a wonderful little book called Ideas and Opinions, American immigrant and world great physicist Albert Einstein wrote down some of his thoughts on various subjects, including what he calls my first impressions of the USA. This particular essay is taken from an interview he did for the let me try again. Nieuwe Rotterdamse Courant in 1921. In short, it's short, so I published it here in its entirety. Okay? Regarded as the founder of modern physics, Einstein was born, we already know when he was born. In 1921, he was awarded, not in 1921. People get this wrong all the time. It wasn't 1921. He got the Nobel Prize for the year 1921, but it was awarded to him in 1922 for his services to theoretical physics and especially for his discovery of the law of photoelectric effect in 1933. He joined the Institute for Advanced Study. We already talked about that in a recent video. That place is shady as hell. And by 1940, he would become an American citizen, just in time for the Second World War. The Second World War began officially in 1939, specifically in September. But let me just keep going with this. After beginning with some modesty, Einstein touches on the topics of materialistic versus idealistic, individual versus social, attitude to life, and technology and science. Here you go, Einstein on America. Okay. This is the article. Now, I don't know if I should read this whole thing to you. I've already been talking for over half an hour. I don't know. Ooh, Lord. Okay, let me go to this next page. This is the important thing. This is from Discover magazine. This is from 1921. 2021, sorry. A century ago, Einstein's first trip to the U.S. ended in a PR disaster. Now, this has to do with this article that this guy is reprinting here from 1921. Now, the scientist insulted Americans in a newspaper interview, requiring a hasty apology tour. So it was a PR disaster, a fiasco. He opened his mouth and put his whole foot in there. And it was bad enough so that he had to apologize. So this happened in 1921, by the way. Okay, here he is. A picture of Albert Einstein with his wife Elsa in April 1921. This is not Mileva. That's his first wife, I think his first wife. Hold on, let me check the bio. How many wives did he have? Jesus. Okay, yeah, first Mileva and then Elsa. What they don't tell you about Elsa, at least not in this picture, is she was his first cousin. Okay? This is his second wife. He divorced Mileva to be with this woman, Elsa. And Elsa was his first cousin. Their mothers were sisters. Okay, now, you make of that what you will, but to me that's just gross. All right? That's my opinion. Gross. This is 1921. He was 42 years old in 1920. He had just turned, in March, had just turned 42, as far as I know. Now, this article is, so it's a good piece of an article, so let's get into it. 100 years ago, Albert Einstein first stepped foot in the United States. The journey served as a fundraising tour for a new Hebrew university in Jerusalem and an opportunity to lecture at some of America's most prestigious academic institutions. It was also the moment Einstein established himself as a bona fide celebrity scientist in the English-speaking world, until a disastrous interview nearly unraveled the whole thing. Dramatic effect put there by me. That was me, not the author of this article. On April 3rd, 1921, the physicist arrived in New York Harbor to handkerchief-waving fans and throngs of photographers. He'd shot to fame a year and a half before when he demonstrated that the sun does, in fact, deflect starlight and bend light, verifying one of the classic tests of his theory of relativity and sending shockwaves throughout the scientific community. Einstein was now the most famous scientist in the world, both for his research and his personal quirks. They're focusing on his wild and woolly hair, and that he played the violin and has a pipe, and those personable touches that gets lots of people interested, says Trevor Lipscomb, director of Catholic University of America Press and author of Albert Einstein, a biography. Chaim Weizmann, president of the World Zionist Organization, had organized the trip and persuaded the celebrated Jewish scientist to help draw attention and donations to establishing a Hebrew university in Jerusalem. Though not a practicing Jew and self-identified non-Zionist, the cause of the university mattered to Einstein because he felt concerned by growing anti-Semitism and the limits on Jewish people's access to universities throughout Europe. In fact, it was an important enough trip that he opted out of attending the Third Solvay Conference on Physics, a major gathering of European scientists. The organizers thought that with Einstein being a fellow non-Zionist, he could draw support from other non-scientists, says Zeev Rosenkrantz, assistant director and senior editor of the Einstein Papers Project at California Institute of Technology. Einstein was received warmly at a string of charity dinners, ticker tape parades, and a meeting with President Warren G. Harding. Throughout, the physicist diligently spoke in favor of the need for a Hebrew university in Jerusalem, raising more than $250,000 toward that goal. He also gave a series of talks at Harvard, Columbia, and City College of New York and elsewhere. Most celebrated was a series of 4 lectures at Princeton University, where he laid out his theory of relativity more fully than ever before. While broadly a success, the tour exhausted Einstein. A natural introvert who spoke primarily in German, he often found himself overwhelmed by the attention from the press and public. While he expressed excitement about the trip, the scientist privately bristled at being shown around like a prize ox, and said he was relieved when he boarded the Celtic ship to return to Europe. And here's the important part of the, all of it's important, but this, an unfortunate interview. This part is very pertinent to what I'm discussing regarding this here. Okay. Wait, no, not that. The colorized version. There it is. Okay. Einstein's relief. Yes. Einstein's relief after returning home may have led the otherwise cautious scientist to let his guard down. At the beginning of July, Einstein agreed to an interview with Nell Boney, a young Berlin correspondent for the Dutch newspaper Nieuwe Rotterdamsche Courant, who was also a family acquaintance, so they were relatives. Rosenkrantz says he basically thought he was talking off the record. During their casual and wide-ranging discussion, the physicist expressed himself more freely than he had ever done while in the States. The lengthy interview appeared in the Courant on July 4th to little attention. But the comments quickly ricocheted. 3 days after the initial interview, excerpts translated into German were published in Berliner Tageblatt, the most popular liberal German newspaper in Berlin. These excerpts were then translated into English and published the next day in the New York Times. Oh shit. Rather than an expansive conversation about Einstein's reflections on his trip, Americans picking up their Times on July 8th were greeted under the headline, Einstein declares women rule here. Oh, shit. To a fusillade of casual insults of the country he dazzled just weeks before. Among his observations, he described how women dominate the entire life in America, and that men take an interest in absolutely nothing at all. They work and work, the like of which I have never seen anywhere yet. For the rest, they are the toy dogs of the women, who spend the money in a most unmeasurable, illimitable way. Wow, that's not nice. Why he say that? And he was talking with a relative, if this person who wrote the article or did the interview for The Current that was published on July 4th, 1921. He was, he thought he was talking off the record. I guess not. So that first one is not nice. The second one, the excessive enthusiasm for me in America appears to be typically American. And if I grasp it correctly, the reason is that the people in America are so colossally bored, very much more than is the case with us. After all, there is so little for them there. Wow. That's mean. That's kind of mean. Okay, here's the third one. There are cities with 1 million inhabitants, despite which, poverty, intellectual poverty. What? Oh, okay, so Americans are dumb. Okay, the people are therefore glad when something is given them with which they can play and over which they can enthuse. Okay, and that they do, then with monstrous intensity. Okay. While he complimented a few of the scientists with whom he had spoken, Einstein concluded that to compare the general scientific life in America with Europe is nonsense. Wow. Jesus Christ. But his relative, whoever, who was it? The one who did the interview for The Current, Nell Boney. Okay, a young Berlin correspondent for the Dutch newspaper. Okay, he basically thought he was talking off record. And then he had to do damage control. Backlash, it says damage control. Backlash followed immediately, provoking complaints from newspaper editors, academics, and members of the public. I guess he pissed everybody off with that Current interview, again, published July 4th, 1921. Provoking complaints, who defended the U.S. and questioned the scientist's character. I would too. If Americans, we get a bad rap. I know we do, because people from abroad, people who are, from other countries, compare the average American to what they see in the movies. They think we're all John Wayne. They think, or maybe, back in the day, in the 50s and 60s, I know for a fact, I think I've mentioned this before, but my parents are immigrants to the United States, and they watched American movies in the movie theaters back in the day, in the 50s and 60s and whatever, and they thought that American people were just crass and just kind of stupid. They've said that to me. And they said when they got here and they actually started living life in the United States, their opinion changed drastically because what you see of America in the movies, that's not how it looks here. Okay? Not every place in the United States, all 50 of them, and every town, every city, I'm talking to people who are not from the United States and who have never been here. Not every place in the United States looks like New York City. Okay? Not every place in the United States looks like Los Angeles. And even Los Angeles doesn't look in real life the way it does in movies. I know because I live here. Okay? It's a drastic, when you come here, please do, because we love having visitors. it's going to be maybe a letdown when you see the reality versus what you thought it would look like based on movies or pictures or whatever. That's what they show you in movies, media that's consumed overseas, like either big skyscraper buildings and lots of lights and action and whatever, or like, wide open spaces in the center of America, like the desert in Arizona, New Mexico, or the prairies of the Plains states and stuff like that. There's no in between. You don't ever get any in between. There's plenty of in between, and that's one thing. Um, and again, just like Einstein talks about here, he thinks that American people are just kind of dumb and um, they'll just go along with anything that at the slightest suggestion. And again, my people, my parents and whatever, when they came to this country, they realized, no, that's just not true. American people are not dumb. They're extremely practical. That's what we do here. Practicality. We want to make life as streamlined and as efficient as possible. We're more German than German. But we smile and we laugh. That's how I'll characterize it. Like people think, like in Europe, people think that German people are the most efficient out of all of Europe. They might be, but they're not more efficient than Americans. We get it done. We get it done and it stays done. Okay? Like that Americans practicality, efficiency, and um and what Einstein says, one thing he says is true. The people here work hard. Work very, very, very hard. Okay? We like not just the men. I guess he's talking in 1921, so I guess it was mostly men. But people are busy all day long. They got to go to the job. They got to work. They got to make that money, and pay those bills. Where again, the work ethic in this country might go above and beyond even what you expect from a German. Okay, and this is coming from a German, by the way. Einstein was born in Germany, so he says they work and work. But where was I in this essay? But again, Europeans have this image of the United States as this frivolous kind of country where people are just really dumb and sloppy, and and we all live in big beautiful cities like New York and Los Angeles. No, like I said, even Los Angeles isn't what you see in the movies. Absolutely not. So backlash followed immediately. Okay. Backlash followed immediately. Rather than complete anger, many responses expressed sadness that the charming genius who'd engrossed America did not seem to reciprocate their warm feelings. And that's an appropriate response to what Einstein had to say. Like, they had him over, they hosted him for all those lectures, they probably treated him like royalty, and he had the audacity and the nerve to say what he said in this interview, what he thought was off the record. And I guess the person conducting the interview did him dirty and maybe didn't let him know, yeah, I'm going to print this, so be careful what you say. No, I guess not. He just let her rip. Anyway, Polish-American physicist Ludwig Silberstein wrote directly to Einstein, expressing concern from him and other scientists, asking that you please tell me whether this correspondence originates with you. I mean, whether what you said has been correctly reproduced, or is instead an invention by the newspaper man, and therefore the whole or part of it is false. See, yeah, Dr. Silberstein, Ludwig, he was pissed. He was pissed at Einstein. He wrote him a letter. Okay. Like, I don't know if you guys, like, we don't have that now in the modern world, because we have email and text and DMs and whatever. But back in the day, before the internet, like, if you wrote somebody a letter, you were pissed. Like when old ladies used to say, I'm going to write them a letter. Oh, that meant something. way back when. So this guy Silberstein wrote directly to Einstein and said, what'd you say? What'd you say? Tell me, tell me whether or not that's what you really said. Or the author of that newspaper article that was published on July 4th, 1921, is that just like that the journalist just embellishing? Or did you really say that shit, Albert? You know, I can't blame him for being that angry. The comments, of course, alarmed Chaim Weizmann. The negative coverage threatened to not only embarrass Einstein, but to hurt the entire effort he'd been enlisted to help. Oh, shit. That's, oh my God. Einstein, I told you, opened his mouth, put his whole foot in there, all the way up to the ankle. My God. Einstein scrambled to clean up the mess, telling the Tageblatt editor that he absolutely disagrees. Oh, this is a good one. He absolutely disagrees with the translation of what he'd said. Really? Oh, okay. So if it hadn't been translated, he would have sounded great? Is that what he's saying? Oh, see, maybe he is a physics genius, but he's not a PR genius. That obviously. He sent a telegram to the Zionist Organization of America, a rival to the World Zionist Organization. Ooh, I didn't know there was a rivalry. Okay, but declaring that he would like to deny the veracity of the statements credited to me in the story. Oh, shit. This is a mess, and you know I love a good mess. He even provided an interview to the Berlin newspaper Vossische Zeitung, in which he referred to the original story as so hopelessly inaccurate that I feel more than justified in giving my own account to refute it. Oh my God. While Einstein issued one response after another, he's not exactly denying everything that he said, according to Rosencrantz. He wasn't upset by the views that were published as much as how they were perceived and the selectiveness of it. Well, you can only select from stuff that's there. Selecting is not inventing. So, if they selected stuff to be mad about, they selected stuff that was there to select. So, I don't know. Indeed, the New York Times headlined its coverage of the interview as being explanation rather than denial. Oh my God, they laid into him. I guess they had a good reason, because, again, they probably treated him like royalty. And he has this to say about them. And not just like the ordinary American citizen, but the American scientific community. He pissed off his colleagues. Never a good idea. Einstein's efforts managed to at least partly calm the Fuhrer. By July 18th, Silberstein wrote to Einstein expressing relief that we knew very well that this correspondence evaluation of America cannot have stemmed from you. What? Yes, it did stem from him. Oh my God. They just didn't want... It looks like they just didn't want to cut off their relationship with him for whatever reason, even though he completely dissed them. Wow. Most seem willing to just take the scientist's word for it that he meant no ill will. Oh, wow. A mess, really a mess. Overall, Einstein proved himself as comfortable saying one thing in public while expressing less prudent views privately. Lipscomb points to a stirring eulogy he gave for Marie Curie, in which he said many wonderful things about her, but also wrote in a private letter that she is very intelligent, but has the soul of a herring, meaning that she is lacking in all feelings of joy and sorrow. Oh, Lord! What a jerk! Why was he giving her eulogy, if that's how he felt about her? Like, were they friends? Or was this Einstein person, like, friends with you in public, but, like, again, behind the scenes, talked all kinds of trash about you? It looks like it. And in the travel diaries of Albert Einstein, edited by Rosencrantz, Einstein expresses a variety, oh dear, of stereotypes and racist views about people he meets throughout his travels through Asia and the Middle East. These writings conflict with his civil rights advocacy later in his career. Oh my God. He was a mess. Obviously. He was a complete mess. Oh, so it says in 1921, he's still really finding his feet when it comes to talking to the press, Rosencrantz says. Yeah, he's putting them in his mouth, like I said. Oh, God. He becomes much more circumspect about what he says to the press after that. Eventually, he learns how to use it for his own purposes and the causes he wants to advance. He uses his public persona. My God. So, I don't know how you feel about this article. I read most of it. Some of it I skipped over a little bit because, oh my God, we've already been talking for an hour and I haven't even gotten to what I really want to get to. But we're going to get there. So, okay, the PR disaster. Is that what Stanley is referring to? July 4th, 1921. This is like when the Americans received Einstein in 21. Then he goes back to Europe and does that interview. It gets published on July 4th, 1921. And it's a fiasco, a complete fiasco. Is that the message? This interview? That Einstein thought he was giving his comments off the record, but either his relative that was conducting the interview for this newspaper, either he didn't tell him that it wasn't off the record, or he just didn't care whether or not Einstein knew. I don't know. But is that the message? The little fortune cookie message? No, I don't think so. We're not done. Oh, wait a minute. Einstein's emigration to America, 1932. This article, this week's newsletter is about Albert Einstein's, immigration to America. So he completely moved to the United States, and I believe he died there. In Princeton, New Jersey. So he first visited America in 1921. Did you hear me? Einstein first visited America in 1921. Together with his wife / first cousin, Elsa, he traveled to New York for a lecture tour which included visits at Columbia, Princeton, and the White House. Okay, so he was somebody to go to the White House. My God. Following the stay, which lasted for 3 weeks, he published a gloating essay entitled My First Impression of the USA. But from this first-hand account, it appears Einstein was in love with America if you just go by his first impressions of the USA. Around the same time, however, in Europe, he was also quoted in the Dutch newspaper Nieuwe Rotterdamsche Courant on the 4th of July, 1921, with a statement about Americans outside of cities such as New York, Boston, and Chicago, largely seeming to be bored. Okay. Einstein retracted parts of the latter statement about Americans a week later, stating, okay. I am very enraged by the statement attributed to me regarding the American he's enraged, eh? The words I am supposed to have uttered cannot correspond exactly to what I actually said. Really? Okay. Noting that his statement to the Dutch journalist, they don't mention that it was his relative, were said in a humorous tone and clarify. Humorous? What? Humorous? Okay. All right, humor. So it was a joke? Saying that about American people was a joke to him, including the scientific community, which he said can't compare to the European scientific community. That was a joke too? Okay. So anyway, goes on to his world travels. All right. Extended stays abroad, 1931 to 1933. At Oxford University, 1931 to 33. Okay. And then I'm scrolling down. He's at Caltech also from 31 to so he got around. My God, from Oxford to Caltech, all in the same 2-year span. Okay, Hitler's ascent to power in 1933. Okay, Einstein had in 1921 commissioned the building of a summer house in Kaputh near Potsdam for him and Elsa to stay in during the warm Berlin summers. They did so in 1930 and 31, however, having to abandon the house in 1932 when they left for their third visit to Pasadena. That's where Caltech is. Ominously, when driving away from the house, Einstein is to have turned to Elsa and said, turn around, you will never see it again. Oh. As the story goes, Elsa protested, stating that they had made plans to return to Berlin in March. They, however, never did. Wait a minute. Hold on. This is not making sense to me. So when they left to go to Pasadena in 1932, that's when he told? Like when they were driving away from the house, he said to his wife / first cousin, Elsa, turn around, you will never see it again. Like basically take one last look at the house, we're never coming back here. Why didn't he tell her before? What kind of bullshit is that? If you were his wife and like he said that to you and no warning, no nothing, that's a bullshit thing to do, if you ask me. I would be like, wait a minute, why didn't you tell me about this sooner? We're leaving this country that you know, everybody I know and love is here and my life is here and I grew up here. And now you're telling me we're never coming back? Now? You couldn't tell me a week ago, a month ago, a year ago? No, now? Okay. So that's the kind of guy that he was. He would just place you before a fait accompli and he didn't care whether or not you were pissed about it. All right. As the story goes, Elsa protested. I think I read this already, but it's worth repeating. Elsa protested. Who wouldn't? Stating that they had made plans to return to Berlin in March. They, however, never did. On January 30th, 1933, while Einstein was still in Pasadena, the president of Germany, Paul von Hindenburg, reluctantly appointed Nazi leader Adolf Hitler to the position of Chancellor of Germany. After only 2 months in office, following the burning of the Reichstag building, the German parliament next passed the Enabling Act, giving the Chancellor full legislative power for a period of 4 years. I gotta study this. This don't make no sense to me. This paragraph makes no sense to me. How, like, we're still dealing with the Weimar Republic, by the way. Okay? In the 1930s. And the Weimar Republic was like the Weimar Republic just about right up until the start of the Second World War. And like, you got this is gonna be one of those long ass videos. So maybe you should fire up the percolator again. Okay, respark it because this don't make no sense to me. Not one scrap of sense. How did this happen? After only 2 months in office, following the burning of the Reichstag building, the German parliament next passed the Enabling Act, giving the Chancellor full legislative power for a period of 4 years. Why? I got to read about this. Now is not the time, though. So now bear in mind all this nonsense, all this shit regarding Adolf Hitler and him, getting these powers and whatever as the Chancellor. This happened in 1933, and Einstein was still in Pasadena, and he says to his wife / first cousin, "Turn around, you will never see the house again that they built in Kaputh near Potsdam for him and Elsa to stay in during the warm Berlin summer." These people had some money, but like, did Einstein know that this was going to happen? Did he know that Adolf Hitler was going to come into power? Because this sure makes it sound like it. He said we're never going back there to his wife. Did he tell her why? Did he tell her, I heard through the grapevine that some shit's about to happen. So yeah, we need to stay the hell away from Germany. Are you guys having the same questions as me? Or is my inquiring mind just a little too inquiring? Like, help me. Please. I don't know what to make of this. Who wrote this? Hold on. Let me see this. Jürgen Weisdahl. Okay, Jürgen. Who is this? I found this article because it has factual information. It gives you names, it gives you dates and stuff like that. That's what I'm looking for. But I don't know like how the author feels about stuff. I don't check on that. I'm looking for is factual information, and I thought I found it. And if that's what was going on, my God, Lord Jesus, hold on. I skipped over all this stuff. Hitler's ascent to power. Okay. The first. On April 1st, 1933, the first day of Germany's National Day of Boycotting the Jews, an anti-Semitic cartoon of Einstein was published in... Okay, Einstein knew something that he didn't tell his wife. He knew things were about to get bad in Germany before 1933. He said this to her in 1932. Yeah? Yeah, in 1932. They were on their way to Pasadena. Oh, and Einstein formally applied for the release of his German citizenship on April 4th. Okay. All right. I can't read all of this. There's just too much of it. But, his bank deposits were... Okay. Oh my goodness. Wait a minute. It took the Nazi regime almost a year to enact Einstein's expatriation. They, however, began officially seizing his assets in Germany already in May. And this is in 1933. Okay. His bank deposits were seized first in order to maintain public security and order, and also to prevent future anticipated subversive communist activities. What the hell? Per the official ruling communicated to Einstein via letter from the office of the Secret State Police. What? By the middle of April, the main office for press and propaganda of the German Student Union proclaimed, oh my God, a nationwide action against the un-German spirit. Not long after, public Nazi marches on and around university campuses was becoming commonplace. Okay. Well, again, this is happening in 1933. Einstein said to his wife in 1932 when they were driving away from their home on their way to Pasadena, "You will never see it again." Again, he knew something was up. He knew something was up. How did he know? I don't know how he knew. But he knew that stuff was about to get horrible in Germany. And he fled. He went to Caltech in Pasadena. And then I guess he ended up in Princeton, according to this article. Oh, the Institute for Advanced Study in Princeton, Germany. Oh, okay. IAS. All right. All right. So he ended up at the Institute for Advanced Study. And Einstein's last trip outside of America was made in May 1935 when him and his wife Elsa sailed for Bermuda in order to obtain immigrant visas on their return. Elsa unfortunately died the following year on December 20th, 1936 of heart disease. Oh, that's terrible. Einstein's future close friend began visiting the IAS in 1933, eventually emigrating in 1939. His immigration story is available in the print. Okay. Oh, Lord. Listen. What is going on here? We don't think of Einstein as anything other than a scientist or a physicist. Now, do we? We don't think of him as anything more than what we've been told. What if he was a lot more and he knew a lot of stuff? Okay. I'm just, hear me out. Again, I'm doing this to try and explain this. I believe that this version of Jack represents not Oppenheimer, but Einstein. Okay, that is my assertion. Well, assertion, is that the right word? No, I don't know. But that's my hypothesis, right? Now, we're an hour and 9 minutes into this, and I still got a couple more tabs to show you. I'm going to take my own little coffee break because my mouth is getting dry. The Einstein-Szilard letter. We need to talk about this. This is one of the reasons why I believe the person we're really looking at in this photo is not Jack Torrance. And it's not J. Robert Oppenheimer, it's Einstein. Two versions of the same, not the same person, but a person playing or fulfilling the same role. Okay? Let me go have some coffee and I'll get back. I'll try to explain it. Oh, please stay with me. Please bear with me because I don't know what I'm doing. Hold on. I'll be right back. Okay, everybody, I'm back. I had my coffee break. I needed it. So now we're going to get into the real reason why we're here, why I'm doing this video, why it's taking me so long to say what I have to say. Jack, like I said, I'll just recap really quickly. The Jack that we see in this 1921 photo is not the same Jack as we see in the modern world of the movie in The Shining. The 1921 Jack and the 1970 whatever Jack, not the same Jack. Stanley said an evil kind of reincarnation. So Jack in 1921 is not the same Jack in 1977, 78. I think the movie was filmed in 78. It was released in 1980. Whatever. It's two different Jacks. And they represent two different people who were both fulfilling the same role. Okay? And again, it's a question of, yes, this is Jack's face. I don't know about the body. But it's 1921, and this little fortune cookie message in his right hand that this guy is trying to keep him from giving to the viewer, the audience, the whoever. Maybe it's not the viewer or the audience. I don't know. But this image is specifically for us because it wasn't there. I've checked. This photo wasn't there in the place where it is at the end of the movie. Nope. But what do I think the message is in his right hand? This thing. The Einstein-Szilard letter. And I'll read you the first paragraph, okay? The Einstein-Szilard letter was a letter written by Leo Szilard and signed by Albert Einstein on August 2nd, 1939, about a month before the official start of the Second World War. And that letter was sent to the President of the United States, Franklin D. Roosevelt, written by Szilard in consultation with fellow Hungarian physicist Edward Teller, a pretty, he played a pretty big role in the Manhattan Project and afterward, and there was some difficulty with him and Oppenheimer. I'll get into that in another video. I need to concentrate on this right now. But anyway, written by Szilard in consultation with fellow Hungarian physicists Edward Teller and Eugene Wigner. The letter warned that Germany might develop atomic bombs and suggested that the United States should start its own nuclear program. It prompted action by Roosevelt, which eventually resulted in the Manhattan Project, the development of the first atomic bombs, and the use of these bombs on the cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Okay? So, I'm taking a deep breath because I just told you, I think that this letter, the Einstein-Szilard letter, is what we're looking at, the little piece of paper in Jack's right hand in the 1921 photo. And it said it prompted action by Roosevelt, which eventually resulted in the Manhattan Project. That's why I'm concentrating on Einstein in this video. Without Einstein, hello, and I think this picture was taken in 1921, by the way. But without Einstein, there would be no Manhattan Project. There would be no atomic bomb. They never would have bombed Nagasaki and Hiroshima. And the bombing of Nagasaki and Hiroshima is, or was, a very important event in the whole thing regarding World War II. Okay. And again, its date is August 2nd. All right, so these people, just like in this article I read to you, Einstein said to his wife, take one last look at our house in Germany. We're never going back there. Was it this article? I think it was. Okay, I think it was. Oh, Richland Law. Is this the kind of photograph you're talking about? In your comment, colorized 1931 photograph of Einstein with Humason, Hubble, St. John, Michelson, Campbell, and Adams, all in front of a blackboard. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, so he said to his wife, "Turn around. You will never see it again." They were talking about their house, their summer house. Okay. And I'm saying the letter, the Einstein-Szilard letter, this is why we're doing this video today. It prompted action by Roosevelt, which eventually resulted in the Manhattan Project. This is important. This is extremely important. The letter wasn't written by Albert Einstein. No. Did you? I mean, I read it to you. It was written by Leo Szilard and signed by Albert Einstein. I don't know how to feel about that, what to think about that, but the letter, okay. I'm gonna have to get into this in more detail, maybe in other videos, not right now. Listen to this. The letter dated August 2nd and addressed to President Roosevelt warned that in the course of the last 4 months, and now this is August 1939, in August 1939, in the course of the last 4 months, it has been made probable through the work of Joliot in France, as well as Fermi and Szilard in America, that it may become possible to set up a nuclear chain reaction in a large mass of uranium, by which vast amounts of power and large quantities of new radium-like elements would be generated. Now it appears almost certain that this could be achieved in the immediate future. This new phenomenon will also lead to the construction of bombs, and it is conceivable, though much less certain, that extremely powerful bombs of a new type may thus be constructed. A single bomb of this type, carried by boat and exploded in a port, might very well destroy the whole port together with some of the surrounding territory. However, such bombs might very well prove to be too heavy for transportation by air. Okay. It also specifically warned about Germany. I understand that Germany has actually stopped the sale of uranium from the Czechoslovakian mines, which she has taken over. That she should have taken such early action might perhaps be understood on the ground that the son of the German Undersecretary of State, von Weizsäcker, is attached to the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute in Berlin, where some of the American work on uranium is now being repeated. At the time of the letter, this estimated material necessary for a fission chain reaction was several tons. 7 months later, a breakthrough in Britain would estimate the necessary critical mass to be less than 10 kilograms, making delivery of the bomb by air a possibility. Okay. The Einstein-Szilard letter was signed by Einstein and posted back to Szilard, who received it on August 9th. Szilard gave both the short and long letters, along with a letter of his own, to Sachs, I don't know who Sachs is, on August 15th. Sachs asked the White House staff for an appointment to see President Roosevelt, but before one could be set up, the administration became embroiled in a crisis due to Germany's invasion of Poland, which started World War II. Okay, Sachs delayed his appointment until October so that the president would give the letter due attention, securing an appointment on October 11th. Oh, Lord. Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait a minute. Does this correspond to the timeline of what we're seeing in the movie? Because I'm asking because the Overlook Hotel closes on October 1st. Oh. Okay, I got to think about that some other time. Okay, he met with the president. Roosevelt summed up the conversation as, "Alex, what you are after is to see that the Nazis don't blow us up." Okay. Roosevelt sent a reply thanking Einstein and informing him that I have found this data of such import that I have convened a board consisting of the head of the Bureau of Standards and a chosen representative of the Army and Navy to thoroughly investigate the possibilities of your suggestion regarding the element of uranium. Einstein sent 2 more letters to Roosevelt on March 7, 1940 and April 25, 1940, calling for action on nuclear research. Szilard drafted a 4th letter for Einstein's signature that urged the president to meet with Szilard to discuss policy on nuclear energy. Dated March 25, 1945, it did not reach Roosevelt before his death on April 12, 1945. Okay, listen. So, now, I gotta look into this Szilard person later. Leo Szilard, okay? He was an Hungarian-American physicist and inventor. All right. He conceived the nuclear chain reaction in 1933, patented the idea in 1936, and in late 1939 wrote the letter for Albert Einstein's signature that resulted in the Manhattan Project that built the atomic bomb. Okay. Now, going back to this picture. The guy holding Jack's arm. Everybody and me too, I interpret it as, whoever this guy is with the mustache and the glasses is holding back Jack's arm. But, is he really holding Jack's arm? Or is this just a visual thing telling us that he's in control of Jack's arm? And is this guy with the glasses and the mustache, does he represent Leo Szilard? And like I said, Jack in the 1921 photo represents Albert Einstein. And the little piece of paper in his hand is the Szilard-Einstein letter. Or the Einstein-Szilard letter, sorry. Oh, lots to think about, eh? Because Jack has always been the caretaker. Jack has always been the caretaker. Okay? Says here, Einstein did not work on the Manhattan Project. Probably if he had been younger, he would have. Like I said, he was in his 60s at the time. Maybe he was, I don't know, he wasn't appointed to that post, possibly because he was an American. I mean, maybe he did have citizenship, but I don't know. They chose Oppenheimer, who was, if he was 17 years old in 1921, then he would have been about 37, 38 years old in 1942. So, I don't know. I really don't know. He didn't work on the Manhattan Project. The Army and Vannevar Bush denied him the work clearance needed. Oh, actually, see, all you got to do is read a little more. Denied him the work clearance needed in July 1940, saying his pacifist leanings and celebrity status made him a security risk. Okay. At least one source says that Einstein did clandestinely contribute some equations to the Manhattan Project. Einstein was allowed to work as a consultant to the United States Navy's Bureau of Ordnance. He had no knowledge of the atomic bomb's development and no influence on the decision of any being used. According to Linus Pauling, Einstein later regretted signing the letter because it led to the development and use of the atomic bomb in combat, adding that Einstein had justified his decision because of the greater danger that Nazi Germany would develop the bomb first. In 1947, Einstein told Newsweek magazine that had I known that the Germans would not succeed in developing an atomic bomb, I would have done nothing. You know my wheels are spinning. So anyway, there's that. Let me pause for 1 second. Okay, I'm back. But you like I said, the wheels in my head are spinning. I have so many more questions. Golly. This is what I believe at this point that this picture means. The reincarnation. So, what did Stanley say? An evil kind of reincarnation. So, the Jack that we see throughout the movie is a reincarnation of this Jack from 1921. Which I take to mean that Oppenheimer is a quote-unquote reincarnation of Albert Einstein, meaning that both of those men played the same role at various times, at different times during the development of the atomic bomb, aka the Manhattan Project. That's what I'm saying. Okay. Einstein says he regretted signing the letter. Okay. And he, if he had known that the Germans would not succeed in developing an atomic bomb, I would have done nothing. That's what he said. Now, let me take you over here. Okay. This I looked this up because this is the question: when did World War II start? I knew it was 1939. I knew it was when Hitler invaded Poland. I knew that, but I wanted specific dates. September 1st, 1939 through September 2nd, 1945. Okay? And virtually not right away after the end of the Second World War in 45, but 2 years later, the Cold War began in March of 1947. Okay, I think that's just a continuation of whatever was going on, whatever was really going on behind the scenes in the Second World War. Okay, and what was it that brought about the end of the Second World War? The atomic bomb and the bombings of Nagasaki and Hiroshima. And that led to the Japanese surrendering. I think it says that. What does it say that here? I don't know. I read that. We know this. We know that the surrender of Japan was what marked the end of the Second World War. Okay. This article from NPR from 2017, Strange Parallels, Alternative Histories in Physics and Culture. This says certain pivotal events in history seem to open up a schism in time. Oh dear. Separating what really happened from countless other what-ifs. World War II, with its succession of controversial decisions, included many such pivotal moments, culminating in President Truman's order to launch atomic bombs on Japan. Physicists were sharply divided about that choice. Some, such as Albert Einstein, regretted the bomb's development, given that the Germans, as it turned out, had made little progress. And others, such as John Wheeler, one of its many developers in the Manhattan Project, argued that it should have been built and launched earlier to end the war sooner and save millions of lives. Wheeler's argument was personal. His younger brother, Joe, a soldier in combat, had sent him a postcard with the plea, "Hurry up," shortly before being killed. Okay. All right. Listen to this. By pure coincidence, roughly the same time that Borges, and I'll talk about him some other time, penned his innovative literary speculations about time being a labyrinth of possibilities, Richard Feynman, a young graduate of MIT, joined John Archibald Wheeler at Princeton in developing a revolutionary new vision of quantum physics. Feynman worked on the Manhattan Project. Feynman, from what I can tell, based on his statements, did not like Oppenheimer. And I think he never said it all the way out loud, but I think Richard Feynman, a real genius, thought that Oppenheimer was just a complete fraud. Okay? Their research together, Feynman and Wheeler, took place during the brief window of opportunity that between the start of the war in Europe in September 1939 and American involvement after the Pearl Harbor attack in December 1941, aiming to finding a quantum method for describing how electrons interact with each other through their mutual electromagnetic force. They posited the surprising outcome, a blend of all physically possible ways at once. Wheeler, with his penchant for coining new expressions, dubbed it Sum Over Histories, SUM, Sum Over Histories. While their joint project never came to fruition, Feynman dusted off the idea several years later in his Nobel Prize-winning description of quantum electrodynamics. They use the word labyrinth here. You know why I'm telling you about that. that damn maze outside of the Overlook Hotel. Richard Feynman was a remarkable person. I need to get into him at another date. But this part that I read to you, up here, about, Einstein regretted it, given that the Germans, as it turned out, had made little progress. Okay, but that's what they were basing it on. Okay, I told you the beginning and ending dates of the Second World War. Okay, now let me get into the last part of what I want to discuss today. My last night's community post. And I put this here. What do you all think? Have I finally lost my mind? If you know, you know. Hashtag The Shining, hashtag Full Metal Jacket, hashtag Jack Daniels, hashtag Tennessee Whiskey, hashtag Stanley Kubrick, hashtag Old Number 7, hashtag The Weapon, hashtag Trinity Test, axe emojis. Jack Daniels is called Old Number 7. Is from Tennessee. Okay. Just like Oak Ridge, that was built specifically for the Manhattan Project. I told you, Jack is the Father, Daniel is the Son, the liquor itself is the Holy Spirit. That's also known as the Trinity. That's given to Jack at the bar when he asks for bourbon. He gets Jack Daniels. Okay? The Trinity was the name of the first nuclear test of the atomic bomb. About a month before they used it to bomb Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Now look at this. And remember my old video with the Z's? Again, Z, 7th letter. In Hebrew, Z is Zayin. Zayin is the 7th letter of the Hebrew alphabet. It means weapon. Specifically when you take it back to like Phoenicia, Canaan, axe. Okay. There. And Jack Daniels, Trinity, Old Number 7. The old weapon. Okay. And then this. Check it out. All right. And again, this, I just needed to show you that. That's going to lead me into this. This is from Reddit. And they're talking about the Oppenheimer movie in this thread. Movie details is the, I guess, subreddit. I don't know what it is. But this person asks, how does Oppenheimer know the Germans are 18 months ahead? Maybe I should watch this movie. How does Oppenheimer know? I didn't watch the movie. This is from somebody who did. How does Oppenheimer know the Germans are 18 months ahead? I'm going to have to research this, but I found this peculiar. And it says underneath, just wondering about the meaning of that scene, particularly on Groves' reaction. I bet Groves was surprised. Let me just tell you right away what I assume. Oh, how, this is a damn good question. How does Oppenheimer know the Germans were 18 months ahead? Does he know the same way that Einstein knew that in the Einstein-Szilard letter, that the letter warned that Germany might develop atomic bombs and suggested that the United States should start its own nuclear program, prompting Roosevelt to action, which eventually resulted in the Manhattan Project? Is that how he knew? I'm just saying. Because if I'm Leslie Groves in that situation, I'm going to have a talk with him. Oppenheimer, I mean. How did he know? And but what does it say? Albert Einstein regretted the bomb's development, given that the Germans, as it turned out, had made little progress. Really? Oppenheimer says that they're 18 months ahead. And he says it to Leslie Groves. And the question here is, why would Oppenheimer know that? And Leslie Groves wouldn't. As far as like intel and rank, Leslie Groves is way above Oppenheimer. Like, I mean, way, way above on the totem pole. If anybody has access to the intel first, it would be Leslie Groves. And Oppenheimer's telling Leslie Groves, why? So they don't give up on the Manhattan Project? Or, I mean, I don't know what the hell's going on. Why did Leslie Groves put him there? Is it some? That's another video for another time. But I wanted to show you this and this together. Okay, and then this. Found this. I found this after I found this because I looked up the saying, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, which is what Jack types over and over and over again on his black Adler typewriter. I've got to talk about that typewriter again in the future. Why it changes color, why it has to be an Adler typewriter. But the second half of the phrase, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, is all play and no work makes Jack a mere toy. And this is the history of it here. In this lady's novel, Maria Edgeworth, Harry and Lucy concluded, 1825. The saying has been around, at least in print, since 1659. And this is it. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. All play and no work makes Jack a mere toy. Is Stanley trying to urge us to think about the missing second half of that proverb? I don't know. But I looked it up. I found the book online. Future commentators will observe that this alludes to the ancient British adage. That means it's been around for a while. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. All play and no work makes Jack a mere toy. Okay. Next slide. Jack of all trades, master of none, is a figure of speech used in reference to a person who has dabbled in many skills rather than gaining expertise by focusing on only one. The original version of Jack of all trades is often used as a compliment for a person who is good at fixing things and has a good level of broad knowledge. They may be a master of integration, an individual who knows enough from many learned trades and skills to be able to bring the disciplines together in a practical manner. This person is a generalist rather than a specialist. The origins of Jack of all trades, master of none. Robert Greene uses the phrase absolute Johannes factorum rather than Jack of all trades in his 1592 booklet Greene's Groat's Worth of Wit to dismissively refer to actor turned playwright William Shakespeare. This is the first published mention of Shakespeare. Okay, then they talk about why it might not be Shakespeare. Okay. The master of none element appears to have been added in the late 18th century. It made the statement less flattering to the person receiving it. Today, Jack of all trades, master of none generally describes a person whose knowledge, while covering a number of areas, is superficial in all of them. When abbreviated as simply Jack of all trades, it is an ambiguous statement. The user's intention is then dependent on context. However, when master of none is added, sometimes in jest, this is unflattering. In the United States and Canada, the phrase has been in use since 1721. Okay. All right. Now, moving on. The playing, I want to know what a jack is. All right. What's a jack? Jack of all trades, master of none. There's a jack in cards, in playing cards. Jack or knave is in some games referred to as a bower, is a playing card which, in traditional French and English decks, pictures a man in the traditional or historic aristocratic or courtier dress, generally associated with Europe in the 16th or 17th century. The usual rank of a jack is between the 10 and the queen. Okay. The earliest predecessor of the knave, which is, again, it's called the jack or the knave, was the, oh dear, second or under deputy in the Mamluk card deck. This was the lowest of the three court cards, and like all court cards, was depicted through abstract art or calligraphy. When brought over to Italy and Spain, the, oh dear, I can't pronounce that, under deputy, was made into an infantry soldier or page ranking below the knight card. In France, where the card was called the valet, the queen was inserted between the king and the knight. The knight was subsequently dropped out of non-tarot decks, leaving the valet directly under the queen. The king-queen-valet format then made its way to England. As early as the mid-16th century, the card was known in England as the knave, which originally meant boy or young man, as its German equivalent, Knabe, still does. Okay. Boy or young man. All right. In the context of a royal household, it meant a male servant without a specific role or skill, not a cook, gardener, coachman, etc. Also, you could say jack of all trades. The French word valet means the same thing. Knave became a derogatory word because royal households had so many of these young men who went swaggering around the streets, picking fights, molesting girls, and generally making nuisances of themselves. It evolved to mean young manservant or henchman. Okay, so we got a link over here that explains this role a little more. Why is a Jack part of the royal family in playing cards? Isn't he just a soldier? This is on Quora. And the answer that Wikipedia cites, you go running down here and you're going to see, references the first one. Why is the Jack part of the royal family in playing cards? Isn't he just a soldier? The explanation. He isn't part of the royal family. The picture cards are also known in English as the court cards, so he's a member of the royal household, yes, but not of the family. Just like our Jack in The Shining. You know, they do mention royalty. When Ullman is giving them the tour, he says, all the best people stay here. Jack is not the best people. He works there. Jack in the 16th and 17th century meant a male servant without a specific role or skill. So not a cook, gardener, coachman, etc. Just a strapping fellow who can carry stuff, be sent on errands, or brought along as a guard whenever you happen to need doing. Whatever you happen to need doing. The French word for the card is valet, in which which in French means exactly the same thing. The other English word for the card is knave, which originally meant boy, young man, as its German equivalent, Knabe, still does. It evolved to mean young manservant or henchman, and I just read this all to you and read it. But he's not a part of the royal family. He's a servant. He's a servant without a specific role or skill. That's what a jack is, if you're wondering. And this is the word knave. I opened this up to do a little bit more research. The word knave in English is a rogue or vagrant, a rascal, a deceitful fellow, a dishonest man. He's another name for the jack in card games. A couple of, Skin magazines have been called that in the United States and in Britain. In Knights and Knaves logic puzzles, which I don't know what these are, a person who always lies. Okay. And also a male domestic worker, a person who works within the employer's household, kitchen boy in Middle English. Oh dear. Okay. So, let's go back. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. All play and no work makes Jack a mere toy. That's the history behind this saying. It's been around since 1659. The second half was added maybe about 1825. All play and no work makes Jack a mere toy. A dull boy, a mere toy. Jack. We're talking about Jack here. Jack. Master of none. Jack of all trades, master of none. Okay. Okay. He's a servant, a young man's servant or henchman. All right. No specific role or skill. Master of none. A strapping young fellow who can carry stuff, be sent on errands, and whatever. Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh dear. My goodness. Jack. 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 Jacks are also known to carry axes. Like lumberjacks. Lumberjacks. That's what they do. They use axes to cut down trees. What is the Overlook surrounded by? Trees. Same thing with Twin Peaks, which I believe is a riff off of The Shining. That's where the story happens, in the Pacific Northwest, in a logging sawmill town. So in the old days, they didn't have like any fancy equipment. They would just use saws and axes to cut down all those trees. Oh, are we getting anywhere? Are we getting somewhere, you guys? What do you think? What do you think about everything I've said in this video? I've been talking for almost an hour and 45 minutes. Tell me, what'd you think? Evil kind of reincarnation. This is what I'm saying. This is not Oppenheimer in this picture. This is Einstein. We see Oppenheimer as the Jack throughout the movie, who goes to the interview and moves there with his family and, you know, writes all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy over and over and over again on that typewriter. That's Oppenheimer. We're going to talk about that typewriter again in the Colorado Lounge. Okay. But the Jack we see in this picture, the one that the living one in the movie is reincarnated from, this is Albert Einstein. With his message, his letter, that he says he wouldn't have sent if he had known that Germany was not really making any progress in developing atomic weapons. Is this Leo Szilard behind him, saying no, or yes, or just controlling his arm? Because this man has his hand on Jack's arm, meaning Jack is not in full control of his own arm. Or, you know, Jack, meaning Einstein, is not in full control of his own arm. Einstein-Szilard letter. Szilard wrote it, Einstein signed it. And for some reason, Szilard didn't feel like he had the clout that good enough or strong enough to get taken seriously by Roosevelt at the time. I don't know. Oh, so many questions. So many questions. And then this article that mentions the labyrinth. Right? Where is it? Golly, where is it? I know it was here. The labyrinth of possibilities. Okay, Borges was, I think, a novelist or a poet, and Feynman and Wheeler were maybe inspired by him regarding speculations of time, about time being a labyrinth of possibilities. So whatever Richard Feynman and John Archibald Weaver were working on during and after the Manhattan Project with regard to, what is it, quantum physics, I think, and space-time and all that stuff, they did it outside of the Manhattan Project. It was not their work, Feynman and Wheeler, not part of the Manhattan Project, but outside of it. Just like that maze is outside of the Manhattan Project. The Manhattan Project being the Overlook Hotel. And whatever happens inside the Overlook Hotel is the Manhattan Project. Whatever happens outside of the hotel, the maze, is like stuff like these real geniuses like Feynman and Wheeler were working on. Quantum mechanics or whatever, right? The sum over histories. Is that what the maze is? And don't forget, that's where Jack dies in the movie. He freezes in the maze. That makes him obsolete. The maze and work by people like Feynman and Wheeler make Jack, like I said, a representation of Oppenheimer, obsolete. Now, I need to figure out what's really going on with that. The labyrinth of possibilities. The labyrinth, like Jack in the movie. We don't ever see him go into the maze. We don't ever see him go into the maze until the end, where he goes in and never comes back out. And the person who leads him into the maze is Danny. Does Danny partially represent Richard Feynman? I don't know. I'm speculating. But the maze is what does Jack in. That is his demise. The maze. because he can't understand it. He doesn't understand it like Danny does, because Danny's been in there before. We saw him go in there with his mother and get lost and walk around and try to make sense of it. Jack, we don't see him doing that. Plus, the maze isn't always there. When we get to the hotel, in the beginning, when he goes on his interview, when we see the overhead, the aerial shot of the hotel, no maze. That maze is a product of something that happened, or that happened because the Manhattan Project happened, but it wasn't, oh dear, me and my problems with words. The maze wouldn't exist if it weren't for the Manhattan Project, because it brought together people like Feynman and Wheeler. Okay? Without the Manhattan Project, we wouldn't have these guys working on what they were working on, plus other scientists too. Okay, and one of that is the labyrinth of possibilities that appears after Jack gets the job. And you see Ullman and Watson and Wendy and Jack walking past the maze, but we don't really see them go inside of it. We see Wendy and Danny go inside the maze. And Jack is looking at the model of the maze. Remember? Precisely in this scene. After he's done, he throws the ball down the hallway, then he goes over here to look at the model of the scale model of the maze, which Danny and Wendy are in, like they're in there, like getting lost and whatever. And they get to the center of the maze. And Jack looks like he's watching them from above. And he's looking at it, but he doesn't really understand it because he's never been in there. Just like Oppenheimer has never been in there. Like Feynman and Wheeler have been in there with regard to whatever they were working on. I have so much more to do, you guys. I have so much more to do. Lord. It's a lot, isn't it? It's a lot. I've got my work cut out for me. Okay, number 7. So whatever we're seeing in Full Metal Jacket is a continuation of whatever we're seeing in The Shining. That I think you can very safely assume. Okay, and it is in 1947. Where's my damn thing? Hold on. 1947. We start with the Cold War. So we pick up right where we left off. In World War II, they pick up right where they left off with the Cold War in 1947, which also has to do with atomic weapons. Except this time, it's about stopping the spread of communism. Okay. All right. Still involves the atomic bomb, but there's more going on. 1947 is the beginning of the Cold War and the passage of the National Security Act of 1947. We got so much shit to talk about, you guys. Oh, we could be doing this forever and ever and ever, which I think is what Stanley intended. But anyway, did I explain any of this? Tell me, people. I rely on you. I do this, yes, I do this, but I rely on your feedback and your comments to let me know whether or not I've lost my freaking mind. Because I just don't know. I really don't know. Tell me. Are we looking at Albert Einstein here? With his little message? Little piece of paper in his right hand? In 1921? Yeah, I know he didn't write. He didn't write the Einstein-Zillard letter at all. But he signed it. Okay, he signed it, and the letter has his name on it. This is a facsimile. Yep, there it is, his signature. Yours very truly, Albert Einstein. And Albert Einstein had foreknowledge of shit that was going on in Germany in 1932 before Hitler came to power. Left Germany. I don't know if he ever went back. Okay. Also, even though he had left Germany in 1932, somehow in 1939, both him and Zillard just knew that the Germans were developing atomic weapons, even though later on he expressed regret because, where is it? the Germans, as it turned out, had made little progress. What? Does any of this shit make sense to you guys? I'm having a hard time with it. Please let me know in the comments. I appreciate your comments so much. I love them. I'm going to do another viewer mail and pick up where I left off at the last one. I have 2 more videos to do. Okay, so maybe not tomorrow, but the day after, I'll do the next viewer mail. This I wanted to do just to lay it out for you, what I think is going on in this photo, this 1921 photo. July 4th, 1921. That date is when Albert Einstein opened his mouth and put his whole foot in there, in that interview that was published. And he thought he was talking off the record on his opinions of America, Americans, and the American scientific community. He pissed off a bunch of people. Listen, tell me what you think. I know this is a long one, but I had a lot to say. Please, let me know what you think. Let me know what you think is going on. Stanley's choices for this movie, extremely mysterious, hard to figure out. And I don't know whether or not I've done it, but I have a feeling if I haven't done it, I'm at least on the right track. Y'all let me know. Help me. Help me. I need you. So let me do the church announcements again, and then I'll let you go. I hope you enjoyed the coffee. Okay. Returning viewers, thank you for returning. New viewers, thank you for being new. Subscribers, thank you for subscribing. And all of you, no matter why you're here, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share the video, this video, or any of my videos if you enjoy them or you know of somebody else who might enjoy them. I have a blast making them. I have a blast reading your comments and reacting to your comments. This is a bunch of fun for me. I'm already a nerd, so this does not work. This does not work for me. I would be doing this anyway. So you guys, thank you for listening. If you're still listening, and I've been talking for almost 2 hours, you're awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. You're a real one. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it so much. Can't wait for your comments. I know what I've said is maybe a little, a little far out, but let me know what you think. So until next time, until the next time when I find yet another reason to talk at you in one of these videos, I'm going to go ahead and bid you bye-bye. So, bye-bye, everybody.